The silence following the final tango chord was deafening, far more so than any applause, a silence heavy with the weight of 200 prejudices crumbling simultaneously. Clara Rodriguez adjusted her cleaning uniform, her hands still trembling with adrenaline, but the tremor wasn't from fear. It was something far deeper, the feeling of having touched for a few precious minutes the essence of who she truly was. At 28, she'd grown accustomed to being invisible, carrying trays and cleaning tables while others lived their lives in vibrant colors. But that night at Arthur Valmont's mansion, something had awakened within her, something she'd thought dead forever. Arthur remained frozen in the center of the ballroom, his impeccable tuxedo contrasting sharply with his stunned expression. For 35 years he'd commanded businesses, bought people, and shaped destinies with the same ease he chose expensive wines. He'd never encountered anyone who truly challenged him, who made him feel small without a single word of confrontation. And now, before 200 guests, he discovered that a simple cleaning lady had just given him the greatest humility lesson of his life. "My God," murmured Margaret Ashford, the city's most influential socialite, still reeling from the performance. Where did she learn to dance like that? The question echoed through the whispers that began to fill the room. Clara, however, was already discreetly heading for the service exit, carrying the abandoned tray. Each step was a return to reality, each meter separating her from the version of herself who had shone under the crystal chandeliers. But Arthur couldn't get her out of his head. There was something in the way she'd looked at him during the dance, not with contempt or triumph, but with a kind of compassion he didn't understand. It was as if she saw through all his carefully constructed arrogance and reached something deeper, more fragile. Asterisk. 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 3 days later, Clara was sweeping Arthur's private office when he arrived earlier than usual. The room, decorated with fine woods and works of art, seemed even more imposing in the morning light filtering through the panoramic windows. She was so engrossed in her task that she didn't notice his presence until he cleared his throat. "You didn't tell me the truth," Arthur said, closing the door behind him. There was no aggression in his voice, only a genuine curiosity he rarely displayed. Clara stopped sweeping and looked at him. In the natural light, Arthur looked different. Less imposing, more human. The wrinkles around his eyes, usually masked by arrogance, now revealed an unexpected vulnerability. "Mr. Valmont, I didn't lie about anything," she replied, maintaining a respectful but firm tone. You were a professional dancer," he corrected, approaching slowly. "No one dances tango like that by accident." Clara sighed, leaning on the broom handle. For a moment, she considered maintaining the facade, continuing to be just the silent cleaning lady. But something in Arthur's gaze, a vulnerability he was trying to hide, made her lower her defenses. "I was a long time ago," she admitted, looking out the window at the city stretching below. "I started dancing at 5, at a community center in the neighborhood where I grew up. My mother worked double shifts to pay for the lessons, saying it was the only way I wouldn't end up on the streets." Clara's voice held a melancholic sweetness, like a tango melody played in a minor key. Arthur settled into the leather armchair, an unusual posture for him. Usually conversations with employees took place standing up, with him maintaining the dominant position. "And what happened?" he asked, genuinely interested. "Life," Clara replied with a sad smile. "At 16, I won my first regional competition. By 18, I was traveling the countryside, dancing in festivals, small competitions. It wasn't fame or money, but it was freedom. It was who I really was." She paused, her eyes lost in memories that seemed simultaneously precious and painful. "At 22, I received an offer to go to Buenos Aires. A famous teacher had seen me dance and believed I had the potential for international stages. It was my dream, Mr. Valmont, my chance to turn passion into life. But you didn't go," Arthur concluded, recognizing the tone of someone carrying regrets. 3 days before the trip, my mother had a stroke. She was paralyzed, needing full-time care. My 2 younger brothers were still in high school. I was the only one who could support them. Clara's voice trembled slightly, but she quickly composed herself. So I traded the stages of Buenos Aires for family homes here. First as my mother's caregiver, then as a cleaning lady. When she passed away, the silence that followed was different from that of the tango night. It was a silence of understanding, of recognition of a pain that transcended social classes. "How many years did you take care of her?" Arthur asked, his voice softer than Clara had ever heard it. 4 years and 3 months, she replied, without hesitation. She died in my arms, apologizing for ruining my future. I could never make her understand that taking care of her wasn't a sacrifice, it was love. Arthur stood up and walked to the window, his hands clasped behind his back. For a long moment, he contemplated the city below, where thousands of people lived their personal dramas far from the illuminated ballrooms and elegant dinners. "I lost my mother when I was 15, he said, surprising Clara. "Cancer. My father never talked about feelings. He just told me I needed to be strong, to take responsibility. I built my whole life on that premise. Being strong meant not showing weakness, not caring what others felt." He turned to face her, and Clara saw something she never expected to find on Arthur Valmont's face: genuine vulnerability. "Until that night, I had never met anyone who was truly strong, someone who chose sacrifice out of love, not obligation or appearances." Clara felt her heart quicken, not because of Arthur's physical proximity, but because of the realization that, for the first time in years, someone had truly seen her story, not as a tragedy or something to pity, but as a demonstration of strength. "Why did you tell me that?" she asked, genuinely curious. Arthur smiled, not the arrogant smile she knew, but something shyer, almost adolescent. "Because I want to make you a proposition, and I need it to be an informed choice, not a decision based on financial need or pressure." Clara frowned, intrigued. "I have a friend in Buenos Aires, Eduardo Martinelli. He runs one of the most respected tango schools in Argentina. I talked to him about you." Arthur raised his hand at the look of astonishment on Clara's face. "And he agreed to assess your dancing. If he's impressed, he's willing to offer a full scholarship, lessons, housing, a stipend." Clara felt her legs weaken. She leaned against the nearest table, trying to process what she was hearing. "Why?" was the only word she could utter. "Because talent like yours shouldn't be sweeping floors," Arthur replied, the sincerity transparent in his voice. "And because that night, you gave me something no one had ever given me before." "What?" "A lesson on dignity, on what it truly means to have class." He paused. "I spent my whole life believing that power meant the ability to humiliate others. You showed me that true power is lifting yourself up without needing to bring anyone down." Clara felt tears burning her eyes, not of sadness, but of an emotion she hadn't felt in a long time. "Hope, and my siblings?" she asked, her voice choked. "They still depend on me to pay for college." Arthur smiled wider. "I've thought about that too. They'll get a full scholarship at the university of their choice. I've already spoken to the president of Central University. Consider it an investment in the future of a family that taught me what truly matters in life." Clara couldn't speak. The emotion was too intense, the possibilities opening up like flowers after a long winter. But along with the hope came fear. Fear of believing, of being disappointed again. "What if I'm not good enough? What if these years away from dancing have made me lose what I had?" Arthur approached, stopping at a respectful distance, but close enough for her to see the sincerity in his eyes. "Clara, you danced that night with a passion I've never seen on any professional stage. It wasn't pure technique, although your technique is impeccable. It was soul, it was truth, and that doesn't fade, no matter how many years pass." At that moment, Clara understood that she was at a crossroads. She could continue in the safety of the life she knew, or risk everything for a dream she had buried 6 years ago. The choice was hers, and hers alone. Asterisk. 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 Dear friends following this story, I know many of you identify with Clara, with the feeling of having a dormant talent, a dream tucked away in some corner of your heart. If this narrative is touching you in the way I hope, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because just as Clara discovered that it's never too late to rediscover our essence, together we will explore more stories that remind us that we all deserve a chance to shine. Every subscription motivates me to continue bringing narratives that inspire transformation. Now let's follow Clara on her journey of rebirth. Asterisk. 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 The airport was bustling that September morning. Clara carried only a small suitcase. Everything that truly mattered fit in that small space. Her siblings, Pedro and Maria, accompanied her to the gate, their eyes shining with tears of farewell and pride. "Are you sure about this?" asked Pedro, 19, still trying to process how their lives had changed so drastically in 2 weeks. "I'm surer of this than anything I've ever done in my life," Clara replied, hugging her younger brother. "And you? Are you ready for college?" "Thank you," said Maria, 20, with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for giving up everything for us, and thank you for now teaching us that sometimes you have to be brave enough to start over." Arthur watched the scene from a distance, respecting that family moment. In the last few days, he had discovered a version of himself he didn't know, someone capable of genuine joy in seeing others' happiness, someone who found satisfaction in using his power to build instead of destroy. When it was time for boarding, Clara approached him. "Thank you," she said, but the word seemed insufficient to express everything she felt. "Don't thank me yet," Arthur replied with a smile. "Thank me when you're dancing in the best theaters in the world." "What if that never happens?" "It will happen, but even if it doesn't, you will have tried, and that's already a victory." Clara hugged him, a brief hug, but full of meaning. Then she picked up her suitcase and headed for the gate. Arthur watched until she disappeared down the boarding corridor. For the first time in years, he felt genuinely happy, not the superficial happiness that came from acquisitions or personal achievements, but the deep satisfaction of having done something that truly mattered. Asterisk. 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 Buenos Aires embraced him with a warm and demanding hug. Eduardo Martinelli's school was located in the heart of the San Telmo neighborhood, surrounded by the pulsating energy of Tango that was born and reborn on every corner. The first month was brutal. His body had lost some of its flexibility. His muscles protested against the intense 8-hour daily training routine. But Eduardo Martinelli, a 60-year-old man with eyes that had seen Tango evolve for decades, immediately recognized what Arthur had perceived. Clara didn't just dance with her body, she danced with her soul. "You have something that can't be taught," he said after the first week of classes. "Technique we can refine, stamina we can build, but this connection you have with the music, this ability to tell stories through movement, that's a gift." Gradually, Clara rediscovered her body, reconnecting with the language that had been her first form of expression. Each class was a layer of rust being removed, revealing the shine that had always been there, just dormant. The nights were dedicated to milongas, the traditional tango balls where veterans and beginners mixed in a democratic and passionate dance. There Clara learned that tango was more than choreographed steps. It was conversation, it was surrender, it was the ability to be vulnerable and strong at the same time. Asterisk. 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 6 months later, the phone rang in Arthur's office. It was Eduardo, calling from Buenos Aires. "My friend," said the Argentinian in Spanish, his voice thick with emotion, "you sent me a rough diamond. Clara just won the Buenos Aires Young Tango Championship. In 6 months she reached a level that many take years to achieve." Arthur felt a wave of pride that surprised him with its intensity. "How is she?" "Radiant, transformed. It's as if she had found not only her talent but her identity. And Arthur, she wants to talk to you." A few minutes later, Clara was on the line. Her voice sounded different, more confident, more alive. "Arthur," she said, and he smiled, realizing he had left Mr. Valmont behind. "I did it. I knew you would." "No, you don't understand. I didn't just manage to dance well, I found myself again. I managed to forgive life for the choices I had to make. I managed to transform pain into art, sacrifice into strength. Arthur felt a lump in his throat. And now I have a proposition for you, said Clara, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Eduardo wants to open a branch of the school here in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. He invited me to be the artistic director. Clara, that's wonderful, but I'll only accept if you're my investing partner. And if you come to take your first lesson. Arthur laughed, a genuine laugh that echoed through the empty office. Are you sure you want to teach me to dance, after what happened last time, especially because of what happened last time? Clara replied, you taught me that it's never too late to change. Now let me teach you that it's never too late to learn something new. Asterisk. 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 A year later, the Martinelli Rodriguez Tango School opened its doors in Sao Paulo. The inauguration took place on a rainy October night, but that didn't stop hundreds of people from attending. Sao Paulo's elite was there, as well as students, retirees, young people, and the elderly, all united by the curiosity of learning a dance that promised more than steps, but personal transformation. Clara, elegant in a black dress that highlighted her professional dancer's posture, observed the movement with satisfaction. The girl who swept floors had become a businesswoman, artist, and teacher. But more than that, she had become fully herself. Arthur arrived promptly at 8 o'clock, wearing casual clothes instead of his usual suit. In recent months, his conversations with Clara had become the highlight of his weeks. He had discovered that genuine admiration was far more satisfying than self-serving flattery. Ready for your first lesson? Clara asked, extending her hand. Ready to learn from the best, he replied, taking her hand. The music started, a soft tango, perfect for beginner. Clara guided Arthur through the basic steps, with patience and kindness that contrasted with the intensity of the performance she had given a year before. He was clumsy, stepped on his own feet, laughed at his own mistakes, but there was a genuine joy in that learning, a humility that transformed each stumble into a reason for fun. You know, Arthur said during a pause, I always thought that power meant making others feel small. You taught me that true power is helping others feel great. Clara smiled, adjusting the position of his hands. And you taught me that sometimes angels come disguised as complicated people, that acknowledging our mistakes is the first step to becoming who we truly can be. At the end of the class, while the other students said goodbye and the school emptied, Clara and Arthur remained chatting in the main hall. The soft lights created an intimate, almost magical atmosphere. Do you regret anything? Arthur asked. Clara thought for a moment, looking at her own hands, hands that had carried trays and brooms, that had cared for a sick mother, that now returned to tell stories through dance. I don't regret taking care of my mother. I don't regret sacrificing my dreams for my siblings, because all of that brought me here, to this moment. It made me the woman I am today. Who is that woman? Someone who learned that strength isn't about never falling. It's about having the courage to get back up as many times as it takes. It's about transforming every scar into wisdom, every tear into compassion. Arthur nodded, deeply understanding what she meant. And you? Clara asked. Who are you now? Someone who discovered that life gets much more interesting when we stop trying to impress and start trying to inspire. When we use our privileges to open doors, not close them. They danced one more song, slow, contemplative, laden with everything they had discovered about themselves and each other. It wasn't romance, it was something deeper, mutual recognition, gratitude, transformed into genuine friendship. When the music ended, they remained embraced for a moment, two human beings who had allowed themselves to grow, change, and become better versions of themselves. Thank you, Clara murmured. Thank you, Arthur replied. And in that embrace was contained all the magic of human transformation, the infinite capacity we all possess to reinvent ourselves, to find light even in the darkest circumstances, to transform pain into beauty and humiliation into dignity. Clara Rodriguez had started as a cleaning lady and become a businesswoman. Arthur Valmont had started as an arrogant man and become a generous mentor. But more important than any external change was the internal transformation. Both had learned that true wealth isn't measured in assets, but in the ability to touch lives, to inspire change, to leave the world a little better than they found it. And every time a new class arrived at the school, every time someone took their hesitant first steps in Tango, Clara and Arthur remembered the night it all began, when a cruel taunt transformed into an opportunity for growth, when prejudices crumbled before the force of truth, when two seemingly opposite worlds discovered they had more in common than they imagined. The tango had been just the beginning. The real dance was life, with its ups and downs, its right and wrong steps, its infinite possibilities for a new beginning, and Clara finally had become the choreographer of her own destiny.